episode of Your Brain on Hops. For anyone who's new to the podcast, or for all of our returning listeners, first of all, thank you for listening. We're a Buffalo, New York-based podcast dealing with beer, breweries, brewing, and all sorts of other stuff that comes up from here and there. With me, I have Alex and Tim. Thanks for joining.
What's up, guys? How's it going?
And we are a man short today, so shout out to Dan.
Feel better, buddy.
Feel better. It's I guess 'tis the time of year where the sickness can take any one of us.
The sickness.
It is worse when you say it like that. So.
Cue the Disturbed reference. Oh, no.
Pretty exciting show for today. To start off, we have a quick shout-out to Line Brewery, which we'll get to in a moment. And then after that, we have a bunch more beers from East Coast states that Alex went to during a trip over the past couple months. He went out there. And a lot of great beers that we have from Tree House and then also from Alchemist. So pretty excited about that. Back to Buffalo. Beltline Brewery, a new brewery and kitchen that just recently opened up in Buffalo. It's in the Larkinville area. I think it's on Swan Street and Hamburg, to be precise. Went there today, and that space looks awesome. I am super excited about that brewery opening up. And they have those garage door sides for like half of the brewery. So
Nice.
Yeah.
It's great. Yes, exactly, yeah.
And to kick it off, we're sampling right now a pale ale from them. It's called High Green, clocks in at 5.7%. And I think it's pretty neat for a pale ale, dry hopped with Simcoe and Amarillo.
It's definitely got a good mouthfeel to it. It's very tasty. I did look at their menu thing that Chris brought for us, and it does say High Green is railroad slang for good to go, which I would relate to how I am good to go to keep drinking this beer.
That's a great point. So Beltline, for anybody outside of Buffalo, and even I learned this, it's referencing the Beltline train, I think it was, in the Buffalo area. So a lot of the names there that they have for beers relate to stuff like that, and then they also have some photos on the walls. Kind of like how Big Ditch Brewing, all about the Erie Canal. So they'll have photos referencing that, and a lot of their beer names reference that too.
Yeah,
so similar in spirit.
Everybody's got their thing.
I do like that it seems like Buffalo breweries do try to bring out the history of the city. So many people just remember, oh, it's just a Rust Belt city. It's like, yeah, we are, but let's look at where that came from. Whether it is the Erie Canal and how that connected us and made us one of the biggest cities in the world for a brief time. But still just, I love that echo back to, of course, I am a history major, all things considered, but so I love that. So, it's cool. I like it. I'm a nerd. Shut up. Don't judge.
Really? I've never heard you talk about history before.
Yeah, I had no idea that you were into such things. What?
Yep.
I love the aroma on this beer. I'm getting a lot of pine in it, but I'm also a little bit thinking it's a little too bitter for a pale ale, in my opinion. But I'm not saying I'm not going to drink it because it is delicious. It's just I wouldn't expect it to be as bitter.
That's a good point, and it does. On initial tasting, it's almost like, oh, this is a good IPA. Instead of a pale ale. Right?
That's exactly what I said, I think.
Yeah, the malt character really isn't there to back it up as much.
That being said, when I did go, I went with a few people from work. And
Did you walk there, Chris?
Fun story. I did not, because it's like 20 degrees outside.
Okay.
But it's still a 5-minute drive.
That's right, yeah.
It's like a 3-minute drive. Let's be realistic.
Through the snow and the lake effect. If you haven't heard from our previous episodes, if you're new, he happens to work very close to several breweries, apparently.
Yeah, so now Beltline, Buffalo Brewing Company. You have the Barrel Factory. So Pressure Drop.
And then
Old First Ward.
Distillery.
Lockhouse Distillery. Yeah. Old First Ward. Flying Bison right in the Larkin area, about 5 minutes away. Honestly, that area is really great for beer. There's 5 or 6 breweries all within like a half mile of each other, and I work near there. So hooray me!
I work a mile away from a mighty taco. That's all I got.
Yeah, Chris. Good for you.
Hey, at least mighty taco. That's Buffalo.
It is. So, I love it.
So you got some of that Buffalo spirit going on.
Mm-hmm.
I like that I live near Lloyd.
That is very cool.
And Fresh Catch, which you seem to be loving.
I'm a huge fan of Fresh Catch. That I do not work within 5 minutes of. Actually, I lie. I do work within 5 minutes of a poke place, Dobutsu, in the Larkin area.
How is that?
Really good, but it's more of a proper restaurant, not the like the fast casual style of Fresh Catch.
Right.
So if that kind of restaurant goes in near me, then I'm set. I'll work there for the rest of my life.
One thing I wanted to mention about the brewery itself, we mentioned in a previous episode about how much we like crowlers. That whole system is awesome. Their particular crowler that Chris brought for us, their sticker is like a actual railroad ticket, which is particularly awesome. So they have the date and everything they check off, so you know when you bought it, and even says, issued by Beltline Brewery and Kitchen, this ticket is good for one 132-ounce crowler, which is, I think that's kind of a nice little add-on. Like, it's one thing if you say, hey, by the way, there's beer in here that we made, but to add your own little personal taste that goes with the theme of your whole brewery, I think is kind of cool.
I agree. It is a really neat crowler. All the things you mentioned, there's also typically where the seal is on a ticket, that's where they have the ABV to write in. They have other social media stuff. Of course, the independent craft logo. Of course, being an independent brewer.
Cheers to that.
So, yeah. So agreed. Very neat concept of the crowler. Looking forward to see where they go in the future. Since when I went in there, soft opening, so pretty new. They had 5 beers on tap. I enjoyed all of them. Possibly their farmhouse ale, which is called This Is.
At
5.9%. That probably was my favorite, but all the other ones were really good as well, including this high green pale ale. And they're going to have a full bar, full kitchen, all that, starting up sometime over the next month or so.
Is there a train in the brewery? That would be a very easy way for me to get my wife to take my son there, because he could just sit there and be happy the entire time.
Big train fan?
Oh, he loves trains.
So there was not a train, unfortunately.
Damn.
There were photos of trains and like.
I don't think pictures are going to amuse him.
Stuff, but,
I mean, all it would take, we went to Old First Ward to eat and obviously sample some beers with my cousin and his wife, and the train went by that goes in between them and right near where Pressure Drop is, and he just sat there and was like, choo-choo, train, and he was just so fired up. He just stood there and watched it, and I was like, man, because it was one of those, I mean, anyone that has a toddler knows that's listening out there, once they get energy and figure out how to run, it doesn't stop. So even at the restaurant, we were outside, but he was all over the place, and it was really annoying trying to eat and enjoy the beer that I was having there. And then the train came, and I went, where was this the entire time we were eating? Mind you, he had to stand near the street for us, so I had to stand next to him, but at least there I could have enjoyed my beer. But I was done with my beer at that point.
Hey, I mean, that's 2 breweries right there. You have Pressure Drop and Old First Ward that you can go to, take your kid, and watch a train go by. Well, he can watch a train go by. Drink the beer.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, while we're still on Beltline, quick shout out to Greg Baker. Very involved in helping them start up, and he has been on the show before as well. So not only alum of Aurora Brewworks, which is where a lot of us know him from, but he was also on episode 8 of ours called "I'll Be in the Basement." Great episode. A lot of cellared beer he talked about, as well as the concept of cellaring beer. So go check it out. I mean, of course, you're listening to us right now, but SoundCloud and the podcast apps, episode 8, really good episode featuring Greg Baker. And go say hi to him at Beltline as well afterwards. Let him know that you heard him on our show.
Awesome. Cheers to Beltline.
Yeah, cheers.
So moving on to our East Coast beers, which is pretty exciting, especially this first one, which is kind of famous in craft beer circles. I'll kick it over to Alex, since he's the one that's graciously brought some back for us to have on the podcast.
Yeah, we are drinking Julius from Tree House. This is actually their flagship American IPA. And it is just orange juice. It's delicious.
Oh, this is beer? I was unaware.
You did say you want to have it first thing in the morning.
Yeah. To everyone that drinks mimosas at brunch, forget that.
Why don't you mix this with a little bit of orange juice? There's your mimosa.
Or just drink this.
I don't know if that I would want to dilute this. Yeah.
No, yeah, it's awesome.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Because typically I would love to mix anything with champagne. But with this, I don't know.
Although there is I doubt there's vitamin C in this. I have heard beer is basically a salad because of the ingredients in it. I've heard that on the internet, which it can't possibly be fake news. I don't think. But I doubt there's vitamin C in this.
Not gonna lie, its vitamin C quotient is irrelevant to me.
You can take a vitamin.
That's true.
And then drink a beer. You're fine. Or
Problem solved.
You swallow your vitamin with a beer.
You
got your vitamin C from the beer.
There you go. Yeah.
One of the impressions drinking this that I got, which I think I remember, was it's so natural tasting. The orange in it, it's not artificial at all. Which even some other good beers that have fruit flavors in them, there still might be a little bit of an artificial tinge to it, even if they use some of the proper fruit and then put in some artificial flavors later. Right. But with this, it's all natural orange that you're smelling and you're tasting.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's all coming from the hops. I don't think they're adding any fruit to this, and maybe some orange zest, orange peel. They might be adding that to it, but I don't know. They really don't say on their website.
Leave something to the imagination, I guess. No, it's delicious. It's super smooth. It's one of those that is, I would say, almost dangerous in a way. Because if I had a couple 4-packs of this and it was a nice, beautiful day and I was hanging out, you could drink so many of these and you'd think you were just drinking juice because it's so drinkable.
Right. It's sitting at 6.8%, so
it's not quite sessionable, but
4-pack of that in 16-ounce cans. That's
depending on the time frame.
You're gonna feel it.
Yeah, make sure you eat a lot of pretzels or something. Then pretzels make you thirsty, according to Kramer. So I don't know.
These pretzels are making me thirsty.
We had the pretzels after number 1 or number 2. That way we have 2 more to go.
So. Everybody loves these Tree House beers so much. All of their IPAs are phenomenal. But the experience of actually going to Tree House is something special. It's not just even about the cans that you're getting, but it's an event. When you first pull onto the street, there's a gravel lot off to the side. I got there at 10:30 and they open at 11. No, I got there at 10 and they open at 11. You pull in, and the street going up to the brewery is actually blocked off, and they direct everybody into this gravel lot. And then they park you in the order that you arrived. 10:30 rolls around, they open up the other side of the lot, and they start directing people up to the actual brewery to park. And they let you go in the order that you arrived in.
Wow.
Once you get there, then you get out of your car and you actually get in line, and you only have about a half an hour longer to wait. They open up the door, and it starts flowing in, and it is a production line. Like they're just filling orders, because when you get to the door, you're finally inside. They have a little piece of paper and little pencils, and on the paper shows all the beers that you can get, the quantity, the max quantity you can get, and a little box next to it to write down how many you want. So you actually fill out your order ahead of time, hand it to a person, they ring it up, they hand it to another person who fills your order. So as soon as you are done cashing out, you have cases in front of you ready to frickin' go.
That's efficient. Damn.
And at the same time, you can buy drink tickets. So that you can just walk up to the bar, give them your ticket, tell them what you want, and boom, you got your beer too. You paid for everything all at once, and you don't got to deal with anything.
So basically, there's 2 types of people there. There's craft beer enthusiasts and logistics enthusiasts.
Very much so.
Perfect. By the way, I love that drink ticket idea.
Yeah.
That bars that have that, where you can just buy a bunch of drink tickets up front, not have to worry about cash, telling them a tab names, things like that. That's fantastic. Good for them.
Yeah, and like the higher alcohol ones, you could get 1 with your ticket. Some of the lower alcohol ones, they would give you 2 with a ticket. So there are quantity differences per ticket, but you were only allowed 2 tickets per person. Because if they allowed people to sit there at the bar and just drink, that place would be mobbed all day long. Because people would never leave. They would just sit there at the bar and drink everything that they wanted to try. They would be doing flights, and it would just be chaos.
True.
I understand where they're coming from, but on the other hand, it's kind of unfortunate because getting to hang out at a place like that, just drink, like the same way we would go to a local bar or a local brewery and just hang out and drink for a while,
right?
Like 42 North. If you're living in that area, you could just go there, hang out and drink for a while. That'd be awesome. But I understand where they're coming from with that. The amount of people that come in.
The demand is so high.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You got to make it a production.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you have a line forming that you have to have an extra lot that you park people in the order that they arrive to keep things in order. You have some other things to think about. Get people in, get people out, and make money. And my God, the amount of money that comes into that place just that one day, it has to be just mind-blowing. It's incredible. Beautiful place, too.
So, looking at this can, first of all, it's pretty neat that they have the oranges there. It's kind of like a circular cutout. Not really the all can orange from previous. It's a newer can label. But one thing, and I mean, you guys feel free to comment on this as well. But being a craft beer enthusiast, it is so hard to recycle cans properly, especially since you go and 3/4 of the cans I try to put through a machine at a grocery store to recycle, it just won't accept it. I gotta do something manual or go up to the counter, and I mean, that's the majority of my beer cans.
And it's very frustrating because breweries themselves, especially microbreweries, are so eco-friendly. The spent grain gets sent to farms. They have the toppers for the cans that, don't trap dolphins in them or fish or turtles or whatever else, so they're not hurting the wildlife. And yet, you as a good, concerning, eco-friendly citizen want to go return your craft beer cans, and you get that lovely message across the screen that says, does not accept brand. And you just want to punch that thing so hard or crush the can, but you're like, no, I want my 5 cents, damn it. So it's a very frustrating experience.
But it's Tree House. It's a high scale.
Yeah.
You should accept this.
Exactly right. Like if I put anything that's high quality in there, it should just take it and go, you get a dime instead of a nickel. Like, dang.
This is good beer.
Yes.
High quality beer, high return.
Exactly.
I'd be on board for that.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a good thing for some breweries to band together and get a
demand
craft beer recycling center.
Demand 10-cent returns.
Moving on to our next beer here, again also from Alex. Moving on to the Alchemist. So this is pretty exciting. Tree House and the Alchemist, two great East Coast breweries.
Titans of craft beer.
Titans of craft. That's a good way to say it. Yes,
That's why I'm here.
It's not just a history now.
That's right. We got mythology as well. The Titans.
There we go.
So moving on to Alena from the Alchemist, American IPA, and Alex, what was the? You went to the brewery, I believe, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what was that like?
Interesting. This was actually the first brewery that I stopped at on my little 9 brewery tour that I took.
That's an amazing tour. Right?
Yeah, jeez.
Got to kick it off with the one that kicked off a style.
Mm-hmm.
They really did kind of just start the whole New England, Northeastern, whatever you want to call that style of IPAs, but they really did kind of start the whole thing.
Hazy, citrusy beers.
Exactly. And they started up in 2003. A lot of those breweries out in Vermont, Massachusetts, that area, I mean, like a decade old at the most.
Right.
A lot of them. And yeah, 2003 for this brewery.
I was still in high school. Had no idea what was coming.
Yeah.
You're not that much older than me.
But yeah, this brewery was interesting when I got there because I was expecting to walk in and see a bar and buy a beer, but you couldn't buy any beer. You got 3 samples, and it was the Alena. They had Heady Topper and Holy Moly.
What is it? I'm not aware of Holy Moly.
Yeah.
I believe it's a pale ale. It's like a hoppy pale ale, I believe. It was good, but I mean, having Heady Topper fresh, like from a tap at the brewery, that was an experience because I've had cans prior to, many cans, And I've always thought it was kind of meh. This is a good IPA, but it could be better. There are better ones out there. Until I had it fresh, and I was just like blown away. It literally blew me away. I had no words for it at that moment.
So much so that he repeated the same thing twice there. Did you catch that?
Thanks, Tim.
It blew him away.
Wait, what did it do?
His mouth was very close to the microphone.
But then, besides just the tastings, there's a small area where you can kind of look into the whole brewery. The fermenters actually have a skin on them of all of their different can artwork from Focal Banger, Heady Topper. I believe one was Skadoosh. But yeah, it's a really neat little area. And then they have their merchandise, and then you can buy your beer and go. And I stayed for at least an hour and a half and had 3 samples in that hour and a half. And I was just kind of hanging out because I was just kind of soaking it in. I didn't want to leave. It was the first brewery I went to, and I couldn't stay and drink beer, and I felt weird about that. But it was a cool experience, and I saw many people come and go the whole time I was sitting there, just taking it all in.
So you had 3 samples of 3 samples? Or you mean those 3 beers you had? You just had those
I had
over
one sample of each.
1 sample of each?
One sample of each of those beers.
Yeah, that is dedication to...
Yeah.
I mean, it was like I was taking pictures, and I believe I did post something when I was there, but like, you know, it does take a little bit of time, but the rest of it, I was just kind of looking around.
Sobbing in the corner. I can't believe this is all real.
Begging, pleading to get more beer.
Yes, just one more, please, sir. Holding a pint glass instead of a bowl.
A goblet.
Yes.
Please, sir, I want some more. No, but it was a really neat experience, and for the first brewery on this tour, like for it to be the Alchemist, I was sitting there and I'm like, this is what this whole trip is going to be, and I was just kind of dumbfounded at what I was about to partake in.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But a little bit about the beer. It's an American IPA, and I said it before, and I will say it again. It is, I feel like the flavor profile, the mouthfeel of it is just really soft, especially for a 7.7% beer. It's just soft and drinkable and just delicious.
I agree. It's very, like after having Heady Topper and Focal Banger from them and the huge flavor you get off every initial sip or even the full can of either of those beers, and then go to Alena, it's very different. You always wonder when you have a brewery that is, as we said, a titan of craft beer, how different are their awesome IPAs really going to be? Because they always get high marks. You check Untappd or Beer Advocate, they have really high marks on all their beer. How different are they going to make the next one? And it's very different. It is, as Alex said, it's softer. It's got a softer hint to it, but not in a way like a light beer. It's just a really good, not really a kick in the face like you might see like in a surly abrasive beer, but just a easily enjoyable, drinkable beer.
It does have some dankness too,
Mm-hmm.
which
Kind of lingers in the back.
a lot of hazy IPAs don't have that, or at least don't have as much as like standard American IPAs or West Coast IPAs. But yeah, I do get some dankness on this beer, which is nice to have that present in a hazier style IPA.
Mm-hmm. You get a little dankness in the nose too.
True, yeah, definitely.
Cheers to American IPAs.
Hell yeah.
It's American intuition right there.
That's right.
Well, I mean, America really took over the IPA style. Nobody in Europe, they know IPAs, and I'm sure they brew a lot of good IPAs over there as well. But I mean, they've never had a truly fresh IPA until Stone got over there.
Mm.
You know, if you think about them getting American IPAs, it's like us getting, German beers. They're taking that trip from Europe over here. What happens along that trip? And for some of them, bad things can happen. And with IPAs, a lot of bad things can happen. It's not going to be as fresh. It's not going to have that big punch aroma in your face. So it can die off, and that's what they were used to if they got American IPAs over there.
Definitely. And another European, English, I believe, or at least UK, Brewdog. And one of the reasons they were so popular is because, like you mentioned, it was kind of filling a void. You didn't really have, they had a lot of IPAs, they had a lot of experimentations with some of their beers too. But, honestly, that brewery would have been more at home in America, but because it was European-born in Europe, it really, started to fill that desire to have those IPAs and those stronger flavor beers and those kind of wilder beers as well.
Yeah, and I've always looked at BrewDog as the Dogfish of outside of America.
Yeah,
they kind of
stuff's
are.
good.
They like to push the limits. They love. If anyone has ever seen the show,
It's awesome.
it's incredible.
The guys are
They
hilarious.
Push the limits.
Absolutely.
And it's incredible to watch them and to get into their heads around like what they're actually thinking, what type of beer when they're in different areas, and their thought process around it. It's really cool.
And I like your comparison with Dogfish too, because if you look at the way they do beer, Dogfish is really big on, and they're very good at the historical styles. You know, you got the Tahenket Egyptian ale, or I forgot the name of it, but the Chinese beer they made, they found from ancient China, things like that.
That's the honey
Ancient
one,
Ale series.
Yeah, their whole is the Midas touch, stuff like that. That's really good. And then on the flip side, you got Brewdog, which just finds an old beer style that they happen to hear about from something that Germany used to do way back in the day before the Reinheitsgebot, and then go, yeah, let's bring that back. What the heck? Why not? And they do. And now I haven't had the chance to try many of those, but it's interesting that the innovative style they have, and especially in the show you mentioned how the way they brew it is always so interesting, whether it's on a racetrack, what they do with the Dogfish in Delaware and stuff like that is pretty cool.
The one they did in Alaska was literally,
That's right.
They decided, oh yeah, what if we crash landed here and we had to make a beer? And they used
awesome concept.
They used
It is.
Airplane parts that were broken off, and they
MacGrubered it.
It was freaking awesome.
Yeah. For those that aren't aware, because I am the person that goes history on this, there's some dispute over where IPAs came from, and it was from in England in the 1800s when they would ship beer to their colony, India, and they would shove hops in there to try and make it last. Now, there's debate now amongst beer historians. I would love that job, by the way. Yeah, right? As to whether or not that was actually where it came from, but it definitely is something to do with the fact that Britain was shipping beer to India. They had to make it last. They had to make sure it had some kind of flavor to it when it got there, and there was hops used. Now, of course, there's black IPAs, New England IPAs, there's white IPAs, there's
red IPAs.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's double, triple IPAs, double dry hopped. There's so many varieties. It's wonderful.
And that was our new segment, Nerd Nugget, brought to you by Tim.
Try Nugget Nectar by Trugs.
Oh, so good.
It is. I miss living close to that.
Oh, that's my turn to be jealous. About being close to a brewery.
Oh, that was cool. Yeah, that wasn't walking distance from my work. No. It was 2 hours away. It's very different.
I didn't say
it was
very
nice.
But quick mention about Alena. Check out our Instagram at Brain on Hops. There'll be a photo of the sediments that's in the can. So obviously we pour into glasses for this. We're not we don't pass around a communal can when we're recording a podcast.
It is flu season.
It is flu season. Yes.
Sorry, Dan.
During summers we
Miss
do,
you.
but during flu season we don't. But so in the glass, if you're not drinking it directly out of the can, that sediment will come out. So check out that photo as well.
All right. Start going with the bear. I haven't taken my sip yet. I was going to wait for a live tasting.
Oh, because it's your first?
Yeah.
All right. So moving back over to Tree House for our next beer. And actually, this is a big moment, everyone. So if you're listening, this is Tim's first time having bear from Tree House. He's taking a sip right now. We're recording as he's trying it out.
I certainly did not.
Tim, first impressions.
It's very good. The malt character comes out big time. It's good. I'm not a typical. go towards brown ales very often, but if this was on tap, I would go for this. It's very good.
I view this, like, from the first can I had of it, I view it as the dark beer I want to drink in the summer. You look at it, and to me, it screams porter stout. It's really, really dark. When you take a sip, I get a lot of roast. But it finishes so clean and not crisp, but leaning towards crisp, that I could see myself drinking a dark beer like this in the summer.
It doesn't linger in the back of your throat at all. It just goes down real smooth. And just, that was very well summed up. It's very tasty.
Yeah, and I didn't, so as far as the color goes, you're right. I've seen brown ales before, which are, I mean, obviously not super see-through, but at least opaque enough that the light gets through. And very rarely have I seen a brown ale, thinking back, that's as dark as this. But it does look more like a porter, or even maybe like a lighter stout as well, which is impressive and probably adds to it. But the fact that, like both of you alluded to, the crispness or the lightness that doesn't linger around, that also is very impressive. And if you're drinking a stout and it's done right, that stout's going to be there for a while.
Yeah,
you're not going to move on to like a pilsner after that or anything. I mean, you could, but you'd be foolish to.
Yeah.
So don't.
I feel like it leaves like the only aftertaste I feel like is like a little bit of chocolate.
I'm just I can't remember many good brown ales I've had. Maybe I just haven't had enough that have that roasty character to it, which I'm getting from this big time.
I find it interesting that they chose to do a brown ale, because I mean it's Tree House. They do IPAs so well, and even if they wanted to branch out into other common or popular styles, like do a stout, do something like that, the fact that they chose to do a brown ale, which typically isn't a go-to style for a lot of breweries, that's I mean, it's cool that they tried it out, and then of course they, as we just said, they did a good job with it. But that's interesting that they even chose to go that route to begin with.
Yeah, because if you think about it, like, try and name, like, we have things like Heady Topper, Pliny that are the IPAs you go for. You have, if you go to stouts, you're looking Bourbon County or the several others that come out of Speedway, yeah, to name just a few. And then you try and think of like the big brown ale.
Young's.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that pops into my head is Young's.
I've got nothing.
Yeah, and that's just like I don't know if it's technically macro or not, but it's
but it's very standard. You can find it.
It is standard. Yeah. It's pretty
Wegmans.
By the way, a Big Brown. That's something, a company out there for making a brown ale, and you call it Big Brown.
Big Brown.
Well, I think the best brown ale name would have to go to Against the Grain.
The Brown Note.
Oh,
Yep.
Yeah.
Whenever you see that can, party goes, ugh, that's probably a good beer.
It is a good beer.
Yeah, that was interesting. And honestly, knowing like Against the Grain and everything they do, they probably created a brown ale just so that they could have it called the brown
like chicken
ale.
or the egg, the name or the beer. What
the
came
name
first?
definitely came first. The can art came first.
That's right. We drew this. Now we got to make something that goes with it. Now, because Tree House is a Massachusetts brewery that is within I think 2 hour-ish drive from Boston, and just looking at the logo.
Sorry, Tim, real quick. We have had breaking news interruption. Against the Grain, we have done that before. Episode 19.
I listened to that one.
I'll be honest, I don't remember it. We called it the milkiest episode, which did have to do with some of those Against the Grain beers.
And the brown note was on there. So
it was. That can is front and center on our art for that episode.
Pretty sure there's like 10 minutes of you guys just talking about the can art is what I remember.
Well, I mean,
listening to that episode.
When it comes to their can art, I mean, it is pretty awesome.
It's on point.
Yeah. I mean, them and what's the other one in? I think they're from Canada. Collective Arts.
Oh, yeah.
Their can art is phenomenal as well.
There's a few. Is it LIC Brewing out of Brooklyn? They have some pretty cool stuff too.
Yeah.
A lot of the ones I go to Village Beer Merchant a lot, being in North Buffalo now, and they have a lot of cans are sitting there. I'm like, I just want to try this because it looks cool. I look at the type of beer and I'm like, well, what the heck? It looks awesome. But back to what I was saying, Chris, before your brown note interjection.
Deepest apologies.
was I'm assuming the bear, and especially because the logo or the picture on the can, speaking of can art, looks like that shoulder patch on the old Bruins jersey. Fuck the Bruins. I hate that team. I really do. If you're from Boston and listening to this, I hate your team.
I
just do.
I thought that was going to a more eloquent.
I was honestly thinking of a better literary or something way to say it. And I'm like, no, I just hate them. They're one of those teams, and I was talking to a coworker today that you watch, and you're just like, you know what? I can't root for them. They could play the New England Patriots in something. I know they're two different sports. I get that. But I still couldn't do it. It's just, they're awful.
You know, that when it comes to sports, that is the perfect way to say it. Just fuck your team.
Them. Yeah. Brad Marchand's, Dano Chara, all of them. God.
That being said, I would like to watch a Patriots versus Bruins game.
Get them on the ice together. See if Tom Brady can skate.
But then wouldn't you have to have them on the football field too?
That's true. Make it the next Winter Classic, the Boston. Oh, God help me if they do that.
So about this beer, I'm curious. So something we said before about, being surprised or not surprised, but like, impressed that Tree House made a brown ale when they really could just lean on their IPAs. Would you and Alex, having actually been to the brewery, like if you guys went to a place where you knew they had awesome IPAs, would you ever order a brown ale?
The 2 drinks that I got with my tickets were stouts.
And that was, you could have those tickets were for anything.
For anything. Yeah. I could have gotten Julius. I could have gotten, anything. Haze, green.
Doppelganger, yeah.
But I was like, I bought all that already.
That's
it's sitting in my car right now. So why would I use my tickets to drink that? So I looked to see what was on there, and they had a mocha. They were both imperial stouts. It was the same beer. One was a mocha version, and the other one was... don't remember now. Because they were both 10%.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
Clouds the memory.
Oh, marshmallow.
That's a name for a beer right there.
That's
Clouds the memory.
It was a marshmallow. Marshmallow, like graham cracker type thing, like a s'more.
Oh, that could go. Yeah, that's done right. Those beers are good.
Pressure Drop
the
made
mocha was better.
graham cracker.
The mocha was better. That was delicious.
So so 2 stouts, but again, like after IPAs and especially in the dark range, stouts are like that's where it's at. Those are popular beers.
Right.
But I mean, with the brown ale, like if you get regulars or if you're the type of place that does have people, so like that Alchemist brewery that you were talking about, where it's just about tastings. I don't know how popular something like that would be, but the brown ale, I guess having it on the board, maybe if it proves to be popular, keep it. But I always find it interesting styles that at least I myself and then some friends that I go out with don't really go to first. When a brewery has that and it's on their board next to things that are probably more popular, I'm always interested in the decision. Was it just the brewer trying to be creative or like experiment or test themselves? Or was there a reason behind why to go with that style?
Well, I think when it comes, being a brewer, I feel like, there's beers that I really enjoy. There's styles that I really enjoy. And IPAs are definitely one of them, but I love Belgian doubles. And so when I brew my Belgian double, it doesn't get shared a lot because I drink a lot of it. So I don't get to bring it around as much because I just drink a lot. I just drink it because it's one of my favorites. And when I see that on a board, if a brewery has, 3, 4, 5 IPAs on their board, which a lot of them do now, and then there's a double, I'll probably go with a double because they're delicious. I love the style. And so for me, that's something that I will always brew. And it's just because that's a style I enjoy. And so maybe the brewer who brewed this is one of the brewers. And he was just like, I love brown ales, so why not do a brown ale? And they might not do it often, but they do it. And they do it damn well.
I think when it comes to when I go to a brewery, to go to your original question, Chris, about would I choose that, I try and find the more unique one because you're at the source. So like if I know I can get it at Wegmans or Roar Brewworks or Village Beer, I might go, I see that, you have that. I like to try it fresh, just like you described how awesome it was to have Hetty Topper at the source. But I also want to say, I'm probably not going to see that out there. So like I'm thinking back to when I went to the Dogfish Ale House, which is not the, I've been to the, I went to the Milton Brewery too, but then we went to the Ale House where they served the best burger I've ever had, by the way. But then they had, yeah.
It's really good. The
food
is
yeah.
awesome.
It's phenomenal. And which may have tasted only better because I went there after going to the brewery and drinking, and then after sampling their beers, and then I had the food. That's how they get you. But I had to, like, they had, I could have tried, they had 120 was on tap, and I think that's our obligatory mention of 120 on a show. But there you go. And they
Dan's
had
not here to do it.
That's right. Yeah, they had the 90-minute, of course, and 60 and 75 even, and a couple of those that are just really good stuff. The Midas Touch was on, and I'm like, you know what though? They have these 4 other ones that are just here right now. I gotta try it. So I think I'm usually more apt to try the ones I think won't last, just because it is that experimental that like. Maybe 20 people drink it and say on Untappd that they loved it, but then everyone else is like, that was too weird, I didn't like it. So I'll go for that weird one. Like, is it bubblegum flavored? I don't know. I'll try a taste of it because it's a flight, and I have an IPA, a stout, and a Belgian double, and that one just sounds interesting. So maybe I would go with a brown ale, but I'm also an Untappd snob that would go up and look, oh, well, that's got a 3.96, and the IPAs have 4.5s. I might stick with the IPAs, but I will usually go for that one. If I'm having a flight of 5, it'll be 4 things that I'm pretty sure I'll like and 1 oddball.
That's, and good for you, and good for you for trying that bubblegum beer. I don't know if I would do that.
The one at Dogfish I had was, it said it had a hint of grass flavor to it, to which I was like, what the frick? And it tasted, there was some grass to it.
The first beer that we had before we even started the show was This Is, and it's a farmhouse ale from Beltline. And I got bubblegum in that.
Interesting.
It's a flavor you can get from Saison yeast.
Farmhouses, yeah.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, and that makes sense, and especially being an Untappd snob, and I haven't had that one before. If I get it, I can check in, and it might be a brown ale. But for any of our listeners, if you're a brown ale fan, and it might not be your favorite, but if you're a fan of it and it's something you definitely get, you want somewhere, let us know, because that'd be interesting to know.
Even some suggestions of ones that we should try.
Excellent point. Yeah. So not only let us know, but let us know what your favorite brown ales are as a brown ale fan.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking to try some more brown ales because I'm looking to brew one, and I've brewed one before, but I'm looking to make mine better, and I'm looking for examples, and there's not a lot out there. That's one of the reasons I got this one.
Is 42 North Oatmeal Cookie a brown ale? What is that?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. I like that one a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm not even an oatmeal cookie fan, but that's just a good beer.
It's a brown ale.
Yeah.
But it's an oatmeal cookie beer.
Yes,
that's 100% what it is.
I just was
delicious.
remembering the style, and I'm like, I remember liking that a lot, but I realized doesn't have any roast character to it. It's all oatmeal cookie, but it's good because they added no raisins. Raisins are evil.
Especially as the weather warms up and we get into summer, might try out that your theory of having like a good maybe lighter brown ale when it's warm outside, but that's a dark beer you can go to. I'll try that out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, boys and girls, what's that? Last time of the episode where we have the final beer. It's a special one from Alchemist, keeping our theme going with Tree House and Alchemist today, and keeping it dark as well with the porter. So again, I'll pass it over to Alex since he picked this up from the brewery.
Yeah, this is Pappy's Porter. I think it's pretty robust. I love the smokiness of it. And I think the malt carries through the whole thing. It's delicious.
The bitterness of it from the hops seems to carry through more than other porters that I'm used to. And you're right. The typical things you want from a porter, like the roastiness, are still there. But I am getting some bitterness in the taste as well. Which, by the way, I'm not upset with at all.
There are easily 25 hop leaves on the can, so that makes sense.
I'm guessing of the hop. 25 dry hop.
Granted, you can also get bitterness from dark malts.
That's interesting. Especially since with darker beers, you do have, and it might be because like the chocolate, coffee, toffee, caramel flavors that can come through in stouts, there is a bit more sweetness. So with the darker malts, you're saying like some of that bitterness might be from that, not necessarily the hop profile that they put in.
Right, more highly kilned malts. Whereas like the Bear, how smooth and how crisp that finish was, they probably used debittered or dehusked kilned malts, dark malts. So that will actually pull some of that bitterness. You won't get as much bitterness, but you'll still get that chocolate. You'll still get that coffee coming through from the dark malt. Whereas the Pappy's Porter, I mean, there's definitely just bitterness coming from that dark malt.
I think what I'm getting, just in one word, is complexity. Like, I've had Porter is kind of a secondary favorite to me from IPAs. I love just the dark, robust, roasty characters you get from them. But just the initial taste, you get that bitter shock in your mouth. But then there's so much more that just goes down the entire way it's going through your mouth. I'm having even trouble just picking up each individual flavor. It's very to me a very complex beer.
Hey,
I love it.
I do get like a little caramel in there, not much, but I get like a burnt like bread crust.
Yeah,
don't often have
that's
crust. It's a common thing for me, but I got you.
You gotta do breakfast better.
I gotta have more toast, I guess.
I bought a new toaster recently, so I had to test out the settings, and sometimes things burn.
Some rough trial runs, I guess.
And that's when you mentioned the complexity, like after that initial taste and you get the bitterness. I wonder if that's because, especially with darker beers like porters and stouts, you do get some flavors opening up as they warm up. So not only as you hold the glass or just have it out in the open over time, but you might even get some of that just in the mouth as it enters, a warmer area, and might open up some flavors if you take it just a second or two before actually swallowing. So, quick question for you guys before we wrap up this episode. We've got a lot of great beers tonight. What is your favorite that we've had?
I'm gonna have to go with Julius. I love a good juicy IPA. They're delicious all year round, and Julius is just a staple, I think. I did a blind tasting of Tree House beers last night, and Julius came out on top of 4 Tree House beers: Haze, Green, and Alter Ego.
I would have thought Green. Green is usually my favorite, but I've never done a blind taste test.
That's what I thought it was going to be too, because I love Green, but Julius came out on top, and I'm like, well, now I know.
All right. I'd have to say Alena, just because I love that a brewery that has such a standout like Heady Topper can still surprise me with an even more different tasting American IPA. Shocked me just knowing, because a lot of breweries, they have that one, and you go, oh, they have a great one, and everything else is fine. They're a good brewery. But every single one I've had, including Pappy's tonight, has been great. And Alena was just another, hey, we made an IPA that's not Heady Topper, but by the way, it's still great. So that was mine.
So, Alena favorite of the night, but if you had a Heady Topper or an Alena, somebody's like, hey, I just went to the Alchemist brewery, and I brought back a case. What do you want?
So, I did the blind tasting of Treehouse. I also did a blind tasting of some of these Alchemist beers.
He basically was sitting around like the movie Bird Box with beer. That's what he was doing.
I haven't watched Bird Box yet.
Oh, sorry. Get to it.
There are blindfolds.
It's pretty good. A lot of blindfolds.
But I did Alena, Heady Topper, and Focal Banger. And I was surprised that Heady Topper was my favorite.
Yeah?
Oh, wow.
Very surprised.
Good for Heady Topper.
Yeah.
Still going strong after a while now that we've been
still ahead of the game.
But
had to be one bad pun tonight, guys.
So my favorite of those 4, you know what? I am gonna go with Bear, the brown ale. I was very impressed by it, and the lightness and the crispness of it, which Alex spoke to very well. That was impressive to me. And I definitely do want to try it when it gets warmer outside. So yeah, for me, bear. So thank you, Treehouse, for experimenting with different styles other than IPAs.
Indeed.
All right, and that about wraps up our show for the evening. Thank you so much for listening. Definitely go and give us a rating on whatever item software you're listening to us on, whether that's iTunes. Go ahead and give us a rating, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Google Podcasts, anything else you're listening to. And check out our social media. So we're on Facebook, of course, Your Brain on Hops. We're also on Twitter and Instagram at Brain on Hops. A lot of great photos. If you want to see what Tim looks like, you can check out our Instagram.
Apparently I take too many selfies with beer on Instagram. Sorry, people.
But he looks so good doing it, so we're not upset. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.